Time once again for the Kaufman Corner podcast with you as always. David Lesky from Inside the Crown. Les Norman, former Royal and host of Breaking the Norm. My name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. We got a lot to cover. The dominance of one Cole Ragans, good, bad, otherwise obviously great to see him performing that way. What do we expect in 26? How important is a winning record for this team? What is set for next year's lineup? How about the rotation? Got some healthy pitchers, got some hurt pitchers. How much concern should there be over that rotation? What do we learn from the Tigers' collapse? What do the Royals learn from the Guardians' charge? We talk about all of that right here, right now on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Les Norman is a former Royals outfielder. He's the host of Breaking the Norm with Les Norman on Sports Radio 810 WHB, as well as the author of Teaching the Tools of Hitting. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. Off and running here with the Kaufman Corner podcast. Remember, if you are getting us via the podcast, we stream live Thursday mornings at 8:30 a.m. If you want to be a part of the conversation, got a number of people in the chat room already. You can join in. Just make sure you're checking the Twitter, the YouTube, what have you, Facebook. It's all right there. Cole Ragans dominates. David, I think Curtis will say the fourth time in his career, 10 Ks, 5 innings pitched or less. 4 times he's done that. That would say that he's back to his old self. Onward and upward, or is it like, wow, that's so dominant, I'm a little bit nervous about how nasty he must be already?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's always that concern, right, with a pitcher that, okay, hold it back for when it matters. But he has been incredible. I mean, we talked a little bit about the last start, which was last Wednesday against Seattle. 9 whiffs, 9 swings, first inning. That was ridiculous. And then he followed it up with 6 strikeouts through 2. Which also ridiculous. You can do better, I guess, if you get some wild pitches, but you really can't do better than that. But a couple of things I think are really interesting. One, I don't know if I'm concerned about it, but it makes me at least think throwing a lot of fastballs, and guys who don't feel fully healthy sometimes don't throw their breaking ball. So there is a little bit of concern there. He threw more fastball percentage on Tuesday night. Than ever in his career with the Royals. 58% was the highest fastball percentage in a game in his Royals career. There were a couple of games with the Rangers. It's hard to tell because he was a reliever sometimes. But so that, at least think about it. I'm not saying it's a concern. I'm just something to think about. But
could it have been? Wait, before you move off that point, could it have been a directive as a preventative measure? Like, listen, we're not in the results. We just want to keep you loose and going. Let's
absolutely
throw a higher percentage of fastballs in this game.
Absolutely. Or what I was going to get to too. Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about that, but it could have been that it was just pure dominance. I mean, why throw something else when you don't need to? And what he's done with his fastball in his 2 starts back, and it's 2 starts, so like the sample is minuscule, but he has gotten a 50% whiff rate on his fastball. We've seen it. And what's even crazier, the 50% whiff rate is huge, obviously. He has a 52% whiff rate against righties on fastballs in the zone. League average is 19%. He is getting swing and miss in the strike zone. And let's go back to well, when Brian Sweeney joined the team, it was raid the zone. It was throw to the middle of the plate and it'll go from there. And that's what the good teams do. The Royals have done that. They throw a lot more strikes than they had in the past. Cole Ragans had sometimes gotten a little bit nibbly, which I never understood because the fastball is so good that he can get swing and miss in the zone. And he did that last year. And then you go back to spring training. Of course, the season hasn't gone the way he'd wanted it to, but he talked about wanting to just throw more strikes. And I remember looking it up and going, he gets a lot of strikes, swinging strikes in the zone. This is even crazier than that. And so I think some of it, his delivery is so methodical and deliberate. I don't know whichever word makes the most sense there, that I think it lulls hitters to sleep a little bit. Unless you could probably speak to facing guys like that who it feels like it takes a month and a half before the ball comes out and then it's on you. But the movement is great. The spin is great. It's a dominant pitch. And then when you mix that with his changeup, which was really good on Tuesday, his slider, which was really good last week against the Mariners, he's got some pitches to work with. I think that, again, there is always a slight concern with pitchers. I think, Soren, you're the guy who's always worried about anytime a pitch is thrown. Velocity's up, that's a problem. Velocity's down, that's a problem. Velocity's the same, that's a problem. and it's totally fair because he's a pitcher. But man, he's looked really, really good.
Yeah. What's your reaction when you see him looking as good as he did, Les?
Well, first of all, there are a couple reasons why I think it was a directive for him not to throw breaking balls. Look, when you're a pitcher that has that good of breaking stuff, you're going to throw it. There's pride in you throwing it. That's number one. Pitchers have egos, and rightly so. That's what makes them not just talented physically, but mentally tough. And they want to shove it down your throat every time. I've never met a pitcher that said, oops, I'm sorry, I struck you out. Next time we'll try to keep it more fair. It doesn't work that way. The second thing is that his fastball is so good in and of itself, but when you mix in how good his breaking stuff and his changeup is, that makes his fastball even better. And then third, at another one, David just talked of deception to his windup. He throws hard. He doesn't have a traditional angle, meaning it's not like it's out here. It's up here and coming right down this way or coming across inside. It's really tough to pick that up. And there's 97 straight gas at you, but when it's at a normal release point, at least you have a fighting chance. With him, it's just a little bit off and a little bit different. So oftentimes you're having to guess. When you have a 4-pitch pitcher that's really good with all 4, well, it's just going to be tough. And so I think that it was a directive more than anything, but he was pumped up. His fastball's just that good. And when you know you're not going to throw breaking stuff, you're probably going to come inside a little bit more. And guys know that a guy like Cole Ragans is a hitter. If I'm up there against him, I'm looking inside because I know that's where he's going to eat my lunch if he throws it in there. And then now I'm cheating. I'm opening up. I'm opening my front foot. I'm dropping my hands a little bit so I can get there a little bit quicker. They notice that. Tell me catchers don't notice that. Everybody notices that. And so now they're going to start working the outside corner. I mean, one of the best pitches he threw in that game on Tuesday was the Heinens. I can't remember his name to the lefty. Was it Shanuel or whatever his name is?
Shanuel, yeah.
Shanuel, yeah. He threw it up and in, and you could lip, if you were an average lip reader, you can lip read what Shanuel was saying, and he was not happy. Nothing he's going to do about it, and Cole Ragans is unfettered in that. But regardless of that, his fastball's good enough. I think it was. What does he have? He's probably going to get one more start for the season, and that's it, right?
Yeah. He's going to get the last game.
If they give it to him, which I've
if they give it to him, which all signs, at least at this point that he's going to get it. So why risk an injury? Go ahead and just get your fastball stuff in there. They're out of the playoffs. If you want to mix a couple, maybe that's fine, but stick with your fastball and then take the off season and get healthy and visit with the trainer and see where you're at. So I think it was a directive, ride out these 2 starts and then just be done.
Yeah, the other guys that had done this outside of the Royals were like Rich Harden, Dylan Cease. They're guys that have battled injuries. Like Rich Harden was a shooting star that really didn't get very high in the sky before it kind of crashed.
Was he a back injury? Did he have back problems?
I don't know, but I mean, there does seem to be an element. Listen, Randy Johnson was wicked. Pedro Martinez was wicked. You know, I don't know that Greg Maddux is wicked as much as he painted. You know what I mean? But there is an element.
he got this much outside corner too. I mean, he was a master at it. Don't get me wrong, but he got some calls throughout his career.
Yeah, he was a master at. They gave me a quarter inch. Now I'm at a half inch. Now I'm at 3/4. Now I'm an inch and a quarter, inch and a half. Yeah, he was great at it. But some of the other names were guys that had been like him, electric stuff, many injuries. What's your expectation for him next year, David?
I mean, you get as much as you can out of him. I don't know. I don't think you can have an expectation at this point because 32 starts, right, in 24. I think he took the ball every single time. I don't think he skipped a start even. I could be missing. I could be forgetting one where they pushed him back a couple of days, but he took it every single time. And this year obviously didn't work out that way. I think that if you're the Royals, you go into next season and you say, okay, we're gonna really look for 25 starts from Cole Ragans. If we get more, great. If we get less, well, they've shown that they can work around that a little bit.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they can do it this well every single year, but I think that's kind of the goal for him. And look, maybe they need to do a little bit more load management with their starting staff.
Well,
maybe last season's was a problem.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with the next part, Les, and that is, I'm a big believer in there are, most starting pitchers are 18 batter guys. You don't want them to see anybody a third time, right? The truly special ones are the ones that can go through the lineup the third time. He clearly has the stuff for it, but maybe the stuff is so electric and so taxing that you make him an 18 batter guy with the idea of getting all 32 to 34 starts from him and just acknowledging, yes, he could go longer. We're not going to worry about 100 pitches. We're just going to dominate 18 batters, or maybe it's 20. I mean, it doesn't have to be a hard and fast, religious 18 batters.
Yes.
Just like let's look for the opportunity to get him out. Let's make sure we've got a deep bullpen, and let's get him out. And that's the way you load manage him. Instead of skipping starts, just don't go as deep into the games. What do you think about that, Les?
I completely agree with that. I think skipping starts messes with a pitcher's routine. They don't necessarily like that. And look, the game has changed, whether we like it or not. They're paying relievers a lot of money. It is a competitive market when the market is good. And so you need to sign if you're going to do that, you better have a short and long bullpen both that can stomach that, because then you can start getting into trouble, and then you could stick with a plan, and then all of a sudden it blows up in your face because the bullpen keeps blowing. And then you say, well, you know what, we're going to go ahead and extend him, and you go away from the plan. And then he gets hurt because now his body's having to make up for it. And so there's a lot of factors in there, but I think it's a great idea to do that, but you have to have the right guys behind him,
right,
that over time you can trust that they're still going to be able to save the game for him or hold the game for him. Because if not, then you're asking for losses.
72 pitches for 5 innings, Les. I mean, or David, that's what he did last night. So I mean, one more inning, he's in the 80s. I mean, I know people aren't going to like that, but I would rather have him all those starts for less than missing starts.
I agree. I also, you said you have to have the bullpen guys, the guys to back him up. You also have to have the other starters to back that up, because you can't put 5 starters out there for 18 batters every night and expect your bullpen to be pitching well in August. I think that's a really tough ask because at that point you're probably looking at 4 or more innings pretty much every night from your bullpen. And, over 162 games, what is that? 640 innings. I don't even know what the bullpen leaders right now. The season's basically over, right? I mean, it's I'm looking right now because I'm curious which teams have the most innings. I mean, you're looking at, the White Sox, the Dodgers, they're approaching those numbers. There are only a handful of teams over 600 innings out of their bullpen right now. There are probably going to be 11 teams, 12 teams, maybe. It's a lot to ask. It's a lot to ask from a bullpen. But if you've got the right, maybe you factor that in, and the way you build your bullpen is with some of your starting pitching depth that is a little bit of an injury risk.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me, maybe we'll get into this a little bit when we start talking about the 26 rotation. But, I know Lucas Erceg is supposed to be happy not being the closer because we're using him in high leverage, and we've asked him to accept that. We talk about, the batting order. Your leadoff today, but not, against the lefty, but not against the righty. And players have accepted that. You want to know why? Because here's the math, and we're making you a better player, and we're putting you in a position to succeed. Well, that seems to fit everywhere, and it seems to fit with the opener when it's a guy who's not that good. Ryan Yarborough, you need to understand we're going to put an opener in front of you. Why would it be so bad to put an opener in front of Cole Ragans? Dominate those top hitters and then let him go by the bad part of the lineup, twice past the good part, and then get a third time with the bad part. Maybe 80 pitches does get him now through 6 1/3. It's just not the first 6 1/3. Like, to me, if you decide this is where this amount of pitching is what's best for him, then figure out where to put him. And everybody's supposed to be an adult at the table and accept the modern approach to things, right? Like, I think everything should be on the table when you're the Royals, and everything should be on the table about keeping your pitching healthy while getting the most out of them.
Yeah. I mean, look, what did Matt Quatraro say in his opening press conference? We're going to win on the margins. We're going to win the 51-49. That, I don't know that that's the right answer.
Right.
But somebody in the analytics team can probably decide, yes, that's right. Yes, no, that's wrong. If that's the right answer, that's your 51-49 potentially.
Yeah. If he's a five-inning guy, that he is electric at 5 innings, but he gets worn out and breaks down when you go more than that, then figure out the best way to get 5 innings from him. And it might be getting 2 from somebody else, then the 5 from him, then close it down.
And maybe it's different game to game too.
Yeah.
Depending on the opponent. You never know.
Yeah, the lineup and who you're going to see. Yeah. Let's talk about how important less being 500 or better is. What does 500 mean? What does above 500 mean? We've talked about it, it clearly backs up last year, right? Like it makes last year not a fluke. They're already at that point, or are they not? Is the difference between 79 and 81 or 80 and 82 and 81 and 81 that big in a ball player's mind, in an organization's mind, in the industry's mind?
For me, coming from a ball player standpoint, I don't feel like if it's like 7 to 10 at worst above 500 and then better, I feel like that's a successful season and you can build off that. But I think if you're 81 and 81 or you're 80 and 82 or you're 82 and 80, I feel like to me that's all the same. I think as far as fans go, a winning season is a winning season oftentimes. And that's not to insult a fan, but a fan wants to know at least there's some progress. A fan wants to know, especially the fans that really, really know the game and that are season ticket holders and they're buying crown seats every other night or whatever it may be. They're investing in their team and they're buying the gear and wearing the jerseys. I think that matters more to them. For a player, probably 7 to 10, but even more than that, it's, if I'm like 79 and 78 with a few games left to go, but I'm second in the division, I'm 2 games out. Okay, that's something that I can stomach. But if I'm around 500 and I never really competed the last few weeks of the season, or maybe there was hope and in reality it just kind of fizzled out, then that's a problem for me. So my point is, I'm not necessarily looking at the record unless it's about 10 games over 500, because then that maybe gives me a benchmark that if we have room to improve, then we can win the division. But if we're 81 and 81, but we finished 12 games out, not so much. So players are going to look at it a little differently than fans. I want the fans to be happy. So, if it's just a couple games over, that's great. I also want the fans to look a little bit deeper and demand a little more of their team and say, we need to get to 7 to 10 at least, because then that's going to put us in contention.
David, when I think it matters? I think it matters like 5 years from now when you've had 5 more winning records. Like, and you can say 7 straight winning records. Like that's where it almost is like, it won't matter if you win 75 next year and then win 64, but if you win 91 and go to the playoffs, and then you win 87 and go to the playoffs, and then you win 82, you have 5 straight years above 500, right? As opposed to, 3 out of 5 above, like I'm with Les. I don't know that there's a whole lot to it, but I think the marketing people might think there's a lot to it a couple of years from now.
Yeah, that'll keep fans in the stands if you can put that 5, 6, 7. If you can say 7 winning seasons in a row, that'll sell.
Yeah. Does it?
Yeah. No,
What does it mean to the team construction, to the the actual winning though? Does that beget more winning down the road?
I in my opinion, I don't think like if does it sway a free agent? No, I don't think so. Because a free agent, like to Les's point, what's the difference between 78, 80, 82? You're roughly a 500 team. Like it's everybody in the game and around the game knows that if you're 82 and 80, you easily could have been 75 and 87 or 88 and 74. Like it's a long season, so little things add up, and sometimes it's just bad luck that you didn't win 6 more games, or good luck that you didn't lose 6 more games. And so I don't think it impacts like the team building today, but I do agree that, I mean, we talk about this a lot. You can't win 10 in a row until you win 2 in a row and 3 in a row. And you can't be over 500 7 years in a row, or 6 out of 7 even, until you've done it 2.
Right.
and if you want to do 6 out of 7 and you don't do it this year, well, then you got to get 5 in a row. And so I do think that there is some level of, all right, if we want to have staying power, this is how we do it. But I also think that there is a little bit of a difference. It's not like they went from, if in 2023 they were 73 and 89, and then last year they won the 86 games, I don't think it's as important. I do as it is now. I think when you improve by 30 games and then you come and you have no expectations, like nobody expected anything from the Royals last year. Everybody thought, oh, they had a nice little offseason. Great, whatever. They will go to the playoffs. I think that there is something to backing that up with a 500 season after they were so bad the year before. So I think that 23 plays a role here too. But ultimately, what's the difference between 79 wins, 80 wins, 82 wins? I mean, it's 2 or 3 games. This is the actual answer, but not much, honestly.
What are we learning about next year's lineup, next year's rotation? We're going to talk about that next after you hear from our friends at Italian Delight, the best when it comes to giving you that New York-style pizza. They brought it to Kansas City a long time ago. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta, their famous lasagna, and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. If you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight.
Green Light Dispensary, voted Kansas City's best dispensary and your go-to for quick, convenient service. With 4 locations across the Kansas City area, we're never far away. Our drive-through and express windows make it easy to get in, get out, and get on with your day. Our award-winning service is powered by a team of experts dedicated to making your experience seamless and enjoyable. It's no wonder we've been voted the best. Convenient locations, fast service, knowledgeable staff. That's the Green Light difference. Visit us today.
All right, let's talk a little bit about next year's lineup, David. Jonathan India's future certainly looks cloudy with the lack of playing time he's been getting. Who's the leadoff? What do you think of what we know about the 26 lineup as we finish off the 25 season?
Yeah, I mean, I think we know that Bobby Witt Jr. is playing shortstop, Vinny Pasquantino is playing first, and Michael Garcia is playing third, and Salvador Perez will be somewhere in there, whether it's DH or catcher. Carter Jensen, I think, is making a pretty big argument that we know that, but 45, 50, whatever it is, plate appearances is not quite enough to say 100% we know he's in there. I think he is. And it's a lot of questions. You're right. And we've talked about that a little bit with Garcia. Like, does he fit better at the top, in the middle? I still think it doesn't matter. Whatever you can find, put him where you don't find. I think he fits better at the top, yes, but they have a lot of open spots. Kyle Isbell is in center field too. I think that's his defense is enough that when they plop him in the number 9 spot and don't worry about it.
They presumably aren't going to go get a Michael A. Taylor for the outfield. Which would be the
assume
only
not.
kind of player that you would even say, like, well, now we're going to move Isbell over to left. I mean, they're going to get somebody who's more of a bat.
Yeah.
They're probably not going to be the center fielder that Isbell is.
I can't imagine they're going to go for that. So I think you're looking. They have some spots. They have some spots they can fill. Jonathan India, you mentioned him. We talked about this on Tuesday.
He was in there
on
yesterday.
Show. Yeah, he in the lineup. I think it's very telling. He hadn't started since the 16th before last night. So I think it's very telling. I go back to the 20-1 game, and everybody got to pinch hit, and Jonathan India pinch ran. It's just like, oh, that's okay. That's good.
Earn a good paycheck doing that.
Yeah.
100. I would love that paycheck, but I think it's pretty telling about, well, one of two things. Either he's still hurt, and if he is, why'd they bring him back? Or they have no plans for the future for him. So you want to talk about where they can upgrade: second base, left field, or right field. There's some open spots on this roster. Some guys have to earn their spot, but I think what they do before March will really determine if some of those guys even have a real shot.
What if you find a third baseman, Les? Are you willing to move Michael Garcia over to second?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If it makes your team better, look, he's a good defender. He's grown into being a really good defender. I saw a play Tuesday that when he makes that long throw behind the bag and he one hops the long throw and it's still a perfect strike. I mean, I see him. How many times have you seen him run in on a ball where he has to grab it two hands and release it immediately, and he doesn't bobble it? He's dead on with the throw. There's strength, there's accuracy. I mean, all facets of his game, including the ball right to him right now. I mean, you can see him taking the extra shuffle when he knows he has time, squares up his shoulders, follows through with the throw. I mean, he has really done a great job defensively. I think it's only a matter of whether he would want to do that or not. I think he would, considering eventually what he's going to be worth and what they're going to have to pay him. So if you can get a good third baseman that you're going to unseat Garcia and put him at second, it solves two big problems. You're adding another great bat and infielder that we need, and you're taking one really good infielder and moving it to a place where there's a huge hole, and we don't have to make an India-like signing again. So I would say please, absolutely, and go for it.
But here's my problem with that. This could change. If you give him an offseason to work at second base, maybe it's different. He's been bad at second. Not just not as good. He has not been a good defender at second base.
Great point.
And there are some guys.
You don't think that would be better? I mean, you don't think that was part of maybe the third deck syndrome, because he was young when he was playing it there? And
it very well could, but even this year when he's played there a few times, and some of it's that he just hasn't played there very much. And so there's
he may not like it though either. Guys that
he may not like it
don't like it. Sometimes at first don't buy in and don't play it well.
Well, and I think there's something to I'm a left side of the infield guy. It's different. The ball comes off the bat differently. It's everybody thinks a shortstop can move to second, no problem. But you go through. There's a lot of guys can if they're just really good defenders. But a lot of guys have a really hard time going to the other side of the infield, and he might be one of those guys. I don't know. I tend to think that if you give him 3 months to work on something, he's going to come back fine. But I worry about that because he's a great defender at third, and he's looked like not just not good, but bad at second base in his limited time there.
Yeah, Les, you said when David mentioned being able to shortstops can all play second. I mean, is that because a lot of guys don't like to, or because you really think it's that much harder? I kind of feel like if you can play short, you can play literally anywhere.
I was saying that I completely agree with him because it does come off differently. There were times that I did later in my career in the minor leagues played first base just because I was a veteran. I was willing to do it and wasn't afraid to suck. And, it is what it is. I never played there, so I wasn't worried about it. But I've also played a few innings at third base, and it is different. The ball does come off different. I mean, the predominant hitter is a right-handed hitter. I mean, there are some lineups with a lot of lefties, but I mean, I've faced more righties in my life, in my career, and it does come off different. It comes off different depending on the pitcher that's on the mound as well. So if you just take shortstop and second base, even the visual is different, not just because it's on that side of the bag. It's just it's a whole different mystique. You're You're squared up more in the shortstop. It's more over here at second base. The ball does do different spins. You're having to cover second differently versus coming across the bag. Angles are all different. So yeah, it's a different beast.
Let me pose this question: 60 extra base hits, basically. I think is basically what he's going to have this year. Does that, and then when Father Time starts catching up to him, because there's a lot of people that want to lock him up for all these years. I mean, is he still more valuable as a trade piece for someone who's going to play him at short than he actually is at third? We know he was an all-star, but we're not talking about 35 home runs. This is not Mike Schmidt over there, who played great defense and pounded 35 home runs and drove in 120, right? Like that's not what you're getting, right? Is he still more valuable to the team? Because to me, his value goes up playing short, and it goes up playing second, right? Not as much for second as short, but the bat looks bigger at those. At third, he does lose a little bit of his luster because he's not the true, middle of the order guy.
I would argue that a little bit because he's not the true middle of the order guy. That's I wouldn't argue that part. But I look at third baseman, and this oscillates day by day, but he's on par with like Manny Machado right now on the numbers. And then if you look there,
33.
Sure, absolutely. But that part of my point here is that we think about third baseman as, there's a power third baseman, get a power third baseman. The position's pretty thin right now.
That's a good point.
I mean, you look at who is a third. Jose Ramirez is the cream of the crop, right? Junior Caminero is coming up, big power, all that. Eugenio Suarez, how old is he? Is he 30? He's in his 30s.
32, I want to say.
34.
Oh wow.
He'll next year he'll play. He's at age 33 season, so he'll be age 34 season next year. And then Machado's older. Matt Chapman's older. Then you get into guys like Zach McKinstry. Offensively is like 7th-ish in weighted runs created plus. I mean, it's a pretty slim.
I think that's a great point. In my defense, my point was not that there are lots of power hitting third basemen. Just go pluck one off the tree. It was if that's what you come across that you can get to.
Yeah.
Do you do it to move him to second? And if what you can come across is a 30 home run, what you project, a guy who's ready to come up and be a 30 home run, or is flat out is a 30 home run outfielder, and you're trading him away, and you find a third baseman elsewhere, or you think India with a full spring training who you have control over, which is a question as to what they do with him. There is, to me, it's an option. It's one that you cannot slam the door on. If you go, listen, I want this outfielder. Well, we want to talk about Maikel Garcia. You need to turn around to your lieutenants and say, what else can we do at third? Right? If the outfielder is a guy that you like, then you say, what else can we do at third?
Yeah, for me,
totally fair.
I like the fact that he's in the conversation. But again, you're talking to a hitting guy. And so he does so much with going the other way, with a skinny guy that can hit home runs, a guy that's got a mix of power. Again, he's not a 30 home run guy, but power for his makeup, like doubles. He drives in a lot of runs if he's a leadoff guy or he's a 5-6 hole guy. So I may not look at it as much as maybe you guys do. If I think you could get a good return, but here's the deal. For me, if you're going to trade a guy like Maikel Garcia, you better not miss. You better get somebody. You can have him in the talks, but you're giving up, maybe not the 30, 40 home runs, but you're giving up a really good bat. You're giving up a guy that clogs the bases. You're giving up, not clogs, is slow. Gets on base. Yeah. You're giving up opportunities. If he leads off, you're giving Bobby Witt Jr. the opportunity to drive in 100. You're giving Vinny the opportunity to drive in 100, and that's hard to come by. So in the talks, yes, but it better be a golden parachute kind of deal, or I'm not doing it.
Let's be clear. That kind of expectation is what's going to make it really hard to move him, right? Because they are going to know. We can't trade an all-star. You can't get Kevin McReynolds, okay? No offense. But when Brett Saberhagen went, it was a good reason that they did it. They were trying to get more bats, and they got Kevin McReynolds, Greg Jeffries, and
who was Lockhart. Oh God, no, it was
Miller.
Keith Miller, right?
like the idea was sound. You were trying to get multiple bats for the one big ace, but the bats weren't good enough, and when it was all said and done. And you certainly didn't stay patient with Greg Jeffries. Anyway, we don't need to relitigate that deal. But the point was, if you move Brett Saberhagen, you got to get something that definitely works. If you move, I think Michael Garcia is an all-star now. You can't miss, right? Your team you have to get good talent back.
I want to relitigate that trade real quick.
Follow the numbers.
Absolutely. I want real quick on that trade. If they don't trade Brett Saberhagen, we don't get Hal McRae's rant. So
that's true. That's true. That is a good point.
There's no Brett for Miller. Come on.
Anything else on the lineup? Like Caglione is going to have to earn a spot in spring training, we were told, which is funny because he didn't this year. But anyway, that's I guess that's to make the young guy work this offseason. I will be shocked if he is not in the starting lineup next year. Does that ring with anybody?
It's interesting to me that the Royals say that because they're the reason that he came up. We didn't want it either. But I'm saying they put him in the position and they ran him out there every day to just get the at-bat so he could learn, even though he was struggling. And then they turn around and say, well, he's going to have to earn a position. Well, okay, maybe set him up for earning the position, in a different way than what you did. So that's fine if he has to earn the position. They can say that, and that's all good talk. I can't promise this, but if I were a gambling man, which I am definitely not, but if I was, I would say that he's going to be your starting right fielder next year, regardless.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. How about the rotation?
I do like to gamble. I think he will be too.
There it is. We now have the gambling insight that has weighed in as well. I'm glad for that. The gambling precincts have reported in. Good to know. Good to know. All right. So tell me, what about the pitching side? Look, right now, for pitchers that are under control, starting pitchers, your rotation next year that is healthy right now, that is healthy. Cole Ragans, Noah Cameron, Michael Walker, Stephen Kohler. Right? Hurt, Seth Lugo, Chris Bubich, Ryan Bergert, Alec Marsh, Bailey Falter. And I somewhat rank them based upon their values. I think, you can argue, you can quibble with moving somebody one spot. I don't think you're going to move anybody two spots. So that's 9 starters. Nobody's clamoring for Bailey Falter. Alec Marsh may have fallen off the planet. Forearm tightness from Ryan Bergert usually is a precursor to hearing Tommy John surgery. Chris Bubich, they immediately said, well, he's not going to be back this year, right? And so that's kind of scary. Seth Lugo, the back, is the most promising one of the bunch, but it's a back, which is always scary for anyone who swings a bat or does any kind of max effort physical motion. Are we, David, like too confident about the rotation? I mean, those are good guys that are healthy. That's a good 4-man start, but are they going to be on the market for pitching as much as we think it's just about finding a bat?
Potentially. I mean, I think that they're really going to have to lean on the medical team this offseason, because Chris Bubich went down. I looked it up. It was like 50. I can't remember the number, 53 days, 52 days, something like that after Cole Ragans went down with what they described as the same injury. No 2 injuries are exactly alike, of course, but Cole Ragans 52 days ago was not throwing yet. So I don't, or whatever number it was, I looked it up a couple days ago and I've completely forgotten what it is, but I don't know that Cole Ragans coming back helps me feel a little bit better about Chris Bubich, just with the idea, the caveat that they're all different. That at least makes me feel a little bit better, but we don't know. And so, yes, they're going to have to lean on that medical team. The nice thing is the timing of Chris Bubich's injury means that they should have some ideas before they get to free agency, before the trade season starts. So we need to hear about him throwing in like 2.5, 3 weeks. Just doing some baseball activities, because that's when Cole Ragans started in the timeline. Not that it has to be the same, but that will help. The back for Seth Lugo, yes, that will help. But we saw this year, we thought they had we're 7 deep with Noah Cameron on the way, so 8 deep basically. We thought they'd be 8 deep by May, essentially. Well, Kyle Wright threw, I don't even know how many games he threw in Omaha. He never made it. Alec Marsh may not exist. I don't know. I haven't seen him at Kauffman Stadium. I haven't heard his name. Nobody said anything. I don't know if you guys have heard his name at all. I have not heard a word about Alec Marsh since they shut him. It was like June.
So I said he fell off the planet.
No.
Yeah. And so he was one of those guys. And then Cameron obviously came through, but other guys got hurt. We thought they were 8 deep going into last season. So, and that's with Michael Lorenzen. I could see them going after a guy. I don't know who it would be. I haven't even looked at the free agent
I think it
market
could be
for
Michael
pitchers.
Lorenzen. If you want
It could be. I mean, it could be a Michael Lorenzen type. Maybe they take a shot on Walker Buehler. I don't know. I wouldn't. Maybe they wait and Dylan Cease can't find a contract and they say, hey, we'll give you $17 million for a year. Put you at the top. Great. And maybe that's the plan. Hey, we're going to wait out the free agent starters, and whichever one doesn't get a deal, we're going to give them 1 year. I'm fine with that. But you're right. With 4 healthy guys and 5 unhealthy right now, you can't just dismiss spending money on pitching this offseason.
they're less. They're always going to say positive things about it, but
Mm-hmm.
Bubic is the big one. I mean, I think we feel pretty good that Lugo will be back. Bubic is really the unknown. Burgert, I think we're all pessimistic. We're all pessimistic about Burgert, Marsh, and Falter. Falter, because we've seen him and don't think he's good. Marsh, because he's been out this long, it can't be good, whatever the injury is. And Burgert, because we think Tommy John's coming, and that's going to be a while. There's a lot riding on Chris Bubic. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
How much should they be shopping for pitching, Les?
I think a lot more than I don't mean this to sound dumb, but I think a lot more than just a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a lot to see in the offseason, but I'm going to add one more mix, one more situation in the pitching into this that makes me believe they really need to pay attention and maybe uptick their interest in getting pitching. I feel like Michael Wacha is not the same guy. I'm not talking about like a stint on the IL. I feel like sometimes that guy can will himself into holding a team to 1 or 2 runs. He's that good and he's that smart. But eventually, the curveball, which I feel like is still good but not as great as it was, is going to stop having the same bite. And for me, through the course of the year, I felt like the changeup lost a little bit of movement and was over the middle of the plate a little bit more. And that's not just one start. I'm always trying to find patterns, and that's the nerd hitter in me that's always trying to find a hole in a pitcher, even now that I haven't played in 38 years. But even so, I just feel like I'm just a little bit concerned, not that Michael Wacha is going to be healthy, but that he's just going to have his really best stuff like he's had in the past. I mean, I understand that everybody declines, and that's just the way it is, and he's been around a while now. But yeah, I just get concerned that are you going to get before the All-Star break and all of a sudden he's your number 2 or even number 3 depending, but he's not reliable and he's getting hit around, or then he starts walking guys because he changes because he knows he's getting hit around. So I have a big concern with him right now for next year. I hope I'm wrong, but if I'm thinking it, I'm hoping somebody else in the front office is thinking it too. And so, yeah, I would say maybe start thinking about pitching as well.
Yeah, there is an erosion going on there. I mean, if you look at his strikeouts per 9 last 3 years, 8.3, 7.8, 6.5. Walks per 9 have gotten a little bit better each of those. Overall, his base runners, his whip is up slightly on a 4-year trend. But the FIP, David, 389, 365, 369. That says that he's pretty much the same guy. I think Les is right. I do. There are games like where he looks a little bit more vulnerable. Tell me, Les, sorry I asked David and then I turn around to you, but
it's okay.
When he gets in trouble, the rear back isn't there anymore, right? When he's cruising, he looks like Michael Wacha.
Mm-hmm.
But I was out there for one of the games and when he had traffic out there on the bases, and there didn't seem to be a solution, right? It was just we're doing what we've been doing, and hopefully a ball's hit at somebody. There wasn't like, okay, here I come with the ground ball machine, Yeah,
it's the sinker wasn't sinking like it should. Every once in a while, he'd do a changeup that I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never even seen a changeup that good as a hitter. That was amazing. And then a couple starts after that, it's flat. It's over the middle of the plate. It's getting hit hard. Look, big league hitters are big league hitters for a reason. They don't miss the middle of the plate, or 9 out of 10 times they don't miss it. And so I love Michael Wacha. I want him to be our 2 or even 3. I would love it if Michael Wacha was at the end of his career and he was our 5. I mean, that would be fantastic. Yeah. But not when your strikeouts are down, your earned runs are up, and you're just missing. And again, I don't have the analytical data to show how much he's missing over the middle of the plate. all I do is watch a lot of baseball with the Royals, and I don't count, but I just noticed he's over second half of the season. He seemed like he was over the middle of the plate and getting hit a lot more, and that's a concern for me.
David, I mean, you see it the same way?
Yeah, I mean, you look at his pitch usage, but from year to year. Last year, he led with his changeup, 32% of the time throwing the changeup. This year, it's 25%. He's throwing his four-seamer more, which it's not that good of a pitch. I mean, I feel like there's a reason behind it, and I think one of the things when you have veterans is you hope the idea, and this is true with like Salvador Perez, and someday it'll be true with Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinny Pasquantino potentially, that they shift and you get these young guys that Michael Wacha is your 3, but okay, Noah Cameron has now pushed him to the 4, and David Shields comes up, and probably not next, that he's a bad example, but pushes him to the 5, and now all of a sudden, yes, you're paying him number 3 money, but you're paying your 2 and 3 pre-arb money, so overall it's fine because the young guys have pushed them into the role they're more suited for. And so I think the important thing with Michael Wacha is that he's not your 2 or 3. I know you're paying him like that, but ultimately you pay a rotation, right? You got to get through 162 games. If Michael Wacha is not starting a playoff game, that's fine. He gets you through the season, but they need to have Noah Cameron's done that in a lot of ways. 2.90 ERA as a rookie, really looked really more like a mid-rotation starter than a back, like we thought. So I think that they've got some of that going. But yeah, I'm a little bit concerned that if they can't push him even farther, and the other problem is you're not paying Seth Lugo like a guy you want to push from a 2 to a 3 or a 4. You're paying him like a 2, which there is a level where it goes from whatever. I don't care that I'm paying my number 5 starter a lot because I'm not paying my number 2 starter. Lugo's making more than that. Lugo's making enough that you want to make sure that he is the 2 or 3. And so I think that's where some of the problem comes in, because they need Lugo to be there to allow Wacha to be a little bit lower because, the changeup isn't as good. The whiff rate's down, the put away the rate is down, all that. Maybe it's fatigue. Maybe he got tired from carrying the pitching staff and being the only healthy one until September. And so maybe we see a different Wacha next year, but I've seen some downtick and stuff.
All right, we'll talk about what to learn from the Tigers' collapse and the Guardians' charge. We'll do it after you hear from our friends at Northland Injury Law. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
This episode of Kaufman Corner is brought to you by Frontier Justice, where freedom is a lifestyle grounded in safety, responsibility, and respect. With locations in Lee's Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Jenks, Oklahoma, Frontier Justice offers firearms retail, a premier indoor shooting range, and training all under one roof. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top-tier gear, and a strong sense of community. Faith, family, freedom. That's what Frontier Justice stands for. Visit frontier-justice.com to learn more.
All right, let's talk about what we can learn from the Tigers' collapse. What do the Royals need to be looking at this lesson, saying we got to take this away from what the hell happened to them?
Well, first of all, I feel like you can't get caught up in reading your own press, man, because they were on a run, and it was like the Detroit Tigers, maybe a little bit of the Cleveland Indians, and then everybody else. Maybe the Royals kind of got into that, but it was like the Tigers were going to run away with this, and they were so much better. And let's follow AJ Hinch and see what he's doing. I know the players have to be on the field, but as good as that team is, I got to say that AJ Hinch needs to shoulder a lot of this blame if they end up not even – they may not even make the playoffs after that. They might get wedged out at the end, but Houston might sneak in if Cleveland hangs on. And I don't know. I think on Wednesday here the Tigers were losing.
Cleveland won.
Yeah.
Cleveland won.
So, yeah. it's continuing to happen. That slide's continuing. And I think that the Tigers maybe got to a point where they thought, well, we can just coast right now. We're winning. It's fun. It's easy. Oh, we can lose a couple games. Not a big deal. Look, man, every game, this can happen anywhere. And so I think that this Tigers team, if they end up not making the playoffs, is going to be a shining example of what complacency can do for you.
Yeah. What do you take away from the Tigers collapse, David?
Well, they don't make contact at the plate, and I know that it's funny. I think the Royals put a little too much emphasis on making contact because I think they've done that at the expense of some power in the past. Maybe a little bit less so now. But what was it? Tuesday night, did you see the reaction when a reporter told Riley Green that they struck out 19 times? He was shocked, actually, and it was like anger and confusion and disappointment, and they don't make enough contact, and so they're
how do you not know that?
I don't know. He was surprised by it, but
yeah, you should 19, know that.
You should know that. You should at least know that. Maybe you don't know that it's 19, but you struck out a bunch of times in that game. Yep. 16. Maybe you think it's 16. Okay, who cares? It's all bad. So I think that's part of it. But I was listening. What was I listening to? I can't remember what it was now, but they were talking about all the bullpen injuries for the Tigers this year. And did the pitching chaos, what got them to the playoffs last year, did it end up costing them this year and putting them in this position where they are? And they're lucky that the Astros are struggling almost as much as the Tigers are, and that the Tigers have the season series against them. Because they're still in danger of completely missing the playoffs.
Yes,
and that's terrifying. If you are the Illiches or oh my God, Scott Harris, the GM, whatever he is, president, are you firing AJ Hinch? I think that now I had heard some things that if they didn't get it together, last year was year 5. And they were struggling. They sold at the deadline. Obviously, rallied, got it together. I don't know that he would have kept his job if they hadn't made the playoffs last year. If you were going to, it's kind of similar to Ned Yost in 2014. If you were going to fire him, if you were thinking about firing him last year before the miracle run, and then they do this, he's got to be in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard some conversation like, well, talking about the Tigers' collapse is not really giving credit to the Guardians, charge. They didn't play the Guardians every game.
7-20 in their last 27 games.
Yeah, this is not blowing a 31-3 halftime lead in football where it was the team that beat you that did all the work, right? Like you had other teams to play and get things done against, and yet here you are crashing and burning.
Cleveland does get credit. They should get some credit for sure because they
will, especially if they do something in the postseason. No one remembers who almost made it. Right? There'll be a footnote that they were a failure. But if the Guardians go somewhere in the postseason, then it'll really be all about. And remember, they were the team that did all this just to get in.
Yeah, they're the 07 Rockies at that point.
That's what will seal AJ Hinch's fate. If they don't make it, and Cleveland makes a deep run, and they just kind of get forgotten. That's not going to make management happy. Obviously, I don't think he'll survive that. His job will not survive that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm looking. It should be pointed out. I say they didn't just play the Guardians, but they did just play them a bunch.
Yeah,
right? They
played
a lot. in this most recent losing streak. It's 5 of the 8, but they lost 3 to Atlanta. They lost 2 out of 3 to Miami.
They got swept by Pittsburgh.
2 out of 3 against the Yankees. So, the Guardians did do a lot of the lifting. I will say that. What's the takeaway from the Guardians, David? What should the Royals be taking note of with what they did?
Well, I think the Royals and Guardians to me are pretty similar. I think that there's a lot of the same traits in these two teams. Look at the inning they had the other night when what was it? They scored 3 and didn't hit a ball harder than 65 miles per hour. Some of that is you go back to they make contact. They don't hit well. I think the Royals have more runs than that. It's whatever it is. It's close. Their runs scored are pretty close. But Cleveland's gone on a historic pitching run over these last 3.5, 4 weeks, whatever it is. There was that point, when the Royals lost 3 or 4 to Cleveland, and that kind of ended things. You look at that and go, wow, that's really disappointing. And then you get past it and you go, oh, Cleveland's 15-1 in their last 16 games with 23 runs allowed, and the Royals are the one.
To your point, David, I mean, if you pick up the trail on September 3rd, when they won 8-1 over Boston, and they're going to lose the next night, but I'm going to give you that. They give up 1 run. Here's what they've given up each night: 1, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 0, 4, 2, 0, 1, 2, 5 in 10 innings. I don't know if any of those came in extra innings. 0, 1, 2, 0, 0, 6, 2, 1. They gave up more than 4 only twice in that whole stretch. One of them was in extra innings, and it was never more than 6. It was 6 and 5.
I think
each.
They have 20 straight games of their starters giving up 2 or fewer runs. I might be off on it by a game there.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
it's insane. And this is a team that their starting pitching wasn't good.
And they followed the Tigers' blueprint of selling a little bit at the deadline too.
Yeah, well, some of it was they had to give away a couple players to their suspensions, but yeah, they made some. They didn't buy at the very least. And
I thought they moved one big league piece.
Did they move?
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just didn't buy, and so
they were rumored to trade.
Maybe that's
Quan was on the block, but it didn't happen. Who did? Okay. I think they may have moved. It doesn't matter. But I think the Royals are built very similarly. Like I think a lot of this is that they're a well-run team. It's kind of sometimes as simple as that. Their leadership is good. The Royals have good leadership. Their offense makes contact, so they can go on some runs where they can get some fluky hits. The Royals do that. Their starting pitching wasn't good, but it has been outstanding. I mean, I think that if you're the Royals, you look at the Guardians and you go, I don't know what we can take away from that because we do all of that. They just didn't do it as well this year.
Yeah.
To me.
And they had injuries.
Yeah. Yep. And Cleveland's pitching staff is healthy. And their offense is mostly healthy too, which they're still not good, but
I want to look at this. Can we say also that maybe one of the things that, Jose Ramirez, I mean, 867, that's not that much more of an OPS over what Bobby Witt Jr. had, but, he had more of his high-end season than Bobby did. Bobby was off a little bit this year, clearly battling a back at one point. But, the Guardians, they have a negative run differential still right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some expert managing going on there as well because they've maximized every run.
Stephen Vogt's really good. I was very surprised by how good he was. They traded Shane Bieber.
Okay, that's what I was.
Which that was but he hadn't pitched for them either.
Yeah. But it was a guy that could have been part of it. Like, we have plenty of pitching, which they clearly have. Yeah. All right. So a handful of games left to go for the Royals before this season is over. Of course, we'll be wrapping up the season when it is over. You can always support the Kaufman Corner podcast by supporting our great sponsors like Italian Delight. I mentioned it, first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. Strombolis, calzones, hot and cold subs, lasagna. They got it all. Daily lunch special starting at under $10. Just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway on State Avenue, 8145 State Avenue. By our friends at Northland Injury Law. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222 or call 816-400-HURT. Voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyer, serving KC for more than 40 years. Greenlight Dispensary with 15 locations in Missouri. More on the way. Greenlight is your go-to for all your cannabis needs. Tell them you heard about them right here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. And our friends at Frontier Justice in Lee Summit, Missouri. Kansas City, Kansas. Jenks, Oklahoma. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find their expert staff, top gear, and a strong sense of community at Frontier Justice. Find them online at frontier-justice.com. For David Lesky, for Les Norman, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Kaufman